Hello friends, I am Shivaji Bhaskar, Faculty of Russian at the School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU. I welcome you all to this module of Communication Skills Part 1. As you know that in the previous sessions we have discussed about various roles of different concepts of Russian, especially like the voicing and devoicing of the consonants. Now in this module we will be discussing about certain other concepts, especially of the possessive pronouns. As you are aware that we are also discussing about the different genders in the Russian language. We have also seen how the endings of the noun and adjectives are qualified. So here in this module, let's discuss these concepts once again with the help of few words and expressions. So here we are going to have a list of words like that you can see on the screen. The words are здесь, очень, нельзя and день. Here you can please pay attention how the pronunciation of these particular words are coming and how udareni is being placed on the vowels. I am going to repeat the words again and we will also be knowing their meaning in English. Здесь, очень, нельзя and день. Здесь means here, очень means autumn, нельзя means it is important, нельзя means it is impossible and день means day. Now let's go to the next part. Here we are going to discuss a few combinations of consonants and vowel sounds. We will also be seeing that how vowel and consonant sounds are joined together and what kind of sound pattern we get. As you can see here we are going to have letter ch, and as you already know there are certain vowels like a, o, u, e, etc. So now listen to the sound of these letters one by one. Cha, cho, chu, chi, ach, och, uch, ich. Here you can see the difference between these sounds, especially when we are not looking at the screen but only listening to these sounds. So I would like to recommend to you all to listen to these sounds carefully and then note them down separately and when combined together in your notebooks. Alright, now let's go to the next part. Here we will see certain examples where we will find new words and expressions. As you already know that in Russian we have discussed about certain endings which we found in the adjectives and noun. However, it is the noun which decides the ending of the adjective. So let's pay attention to these words and expressions. First, черный, добрый вечер, часы, очки, читать, отвечать and учить. So if you pay attention to the first one, черный, it is an adjective. Why? Because it has the ending of u and e kratki. It means black. The next one is an expression which we oftenly use in Russian is добрый вечер, which means good evening. Then we have часы, which means watch or clock. Then achki means glasses or spectacles. Then now we will be discussing with you about certain verbs, because it is the verb which plays a very significant role in any sentence in order to give clear meaning. So the first verb here we are going to read is chitach. Here you can see the ending of the verb as tay and soft sign. Chitach means to read. And as you know that in Russian these verbs are being conjugated in the form of ya, ty, on, ana, ano, my, we and ani. So I am going to conjugate the verb for you so that you have a fair idea about how these verbs are being conjugated in Russian. Chitach means to read. Ya chitayu means I read. Ty chitayesh means you read, it's in singular. Then on, ana, ano, chitayet. On chitayet means he reads. Ana chitayet means she reads. And ano, it's for it. Then we have my. My chitayam, we read. And then you have вы читайте, which means you read, it's in plural. And then ani, which means they, ani chitayu, they read. So likewise, depending upon the ending of the verb, you can conjugate with a set pattern, but there are some cases, some exceptions in Russian as well, where you will find similar endings but the verbs are not conjugated like that. We will be having a separate list of such verbs in our upcoming modules, but till the time being we will only discuss these basic verbs in this module. Then the next verb we have is atvechait. Atvechait means to answer. It is from the word atvyet, which means answer. Then we have uchich. It is also a verb which means to study. So I would like to request you all to note down any special thing or any special concept which you think it is important, as well as all the words, verbs and expressions which we are dealing. Now let's go to the next section. In this part you will see there are certain words which we oftenly use in our day-to-day communication, and as you know that we want you to use these words as well in your day-to-day communication. You can make your own small sentences and use these words. So the new words are chai, chas, uchebnik, uchecha, kluich, vrach. So these are the new words where you have these kind of concepts where you can use these new words. But before that we will know their meaning. So the first word is chai. As it sounds, it's very popular, it's tea. And if you remember, in our previous modules we have discussed that in Russian chai means tea, but if you want to say black tea or tea with milk, you have separate expressions. So chai biz malaka means black tea, and chai s malakom means tea with milk. You also say zelyony chai for green tea. The next word is chas, means hour, and in Russian we use an expression katori chas, which means what is the time. You can also use this expression with your family and friends, and then when we will be discussing time in a specific case of Russian, we will tell you more about how to count numbers, time, etc. Then the word is uchebnik. means textbook. Uchichel means teacher. Kluch means key, and vrach means doctor. Alright, now let's go to the next part. Here again you can see some of the new words which you can also use in your own sentences construction. The words are chilavek, chitvirg, vecher, malchik, chainik. Now let's learn the meaning of these words. Chilavek means person, chitvirg means Thursday, vecher means evening, malchik means boy, and chainik means kettle. Here in this part you can also see that we have used the word chitvirg, which means Thursday. And likewise in Russian you will also be learning about days of the week. As we have 7 days in a week, in Russian we start from Понедельник, which means Monday, Вторник means Tuesday, Sreda means Wednesday, then you have Четверг, which you can see here also is Thursday, then we have Пятница means Friday, Subota which means Saturday, and then we have Воскресенье means Sunday. So you can also learn all these days of the week in advance, and you can also use certain other words while making sentences. However, we will also be talking about certain cases of Russian where you know how to construct a specific sentence in a specific case, so that you will always be using all these words in your day-to-day communication. Alright, now let's go ahead and pay attention to these new words. The words are часто, сейчас, чисто, очень, вчера, вечером, and конечно. So now let's learn the meaning of these new words. Часто means often, сейчас means now, чисто means clean, очень means very, вчера means yesterday, вечером means in the evening, and the last one is конечно, which means of course. So you can also use these new words in your own communication. You can also see that there are some of the words which we use very often, especially the first word itself is often, which means часто. Сейчас means now, and вечером, конечно, очень, these are very oftenly used words in Russian. So I would like to suggest you all to note them down and use in your own sentences, and then you can communicate with your family and friends. Alright, now let's go to the next part. Here you can see these new words. As you can see, most of the words, however, new, but you have a fair idea about the ending of the nouns now. So if you remember, the word which ends with a, it belongs to, of course, it's feminine gender. So the word chashka, which means cup, is of feminine gender. So suppose if I want to make a small sentence, это чистая чашка. So when I am saying this sentence, это чистая чашка, so I am saying that this is a clean cup. Or suppose if I want to say it is a big cup, then I have to say это большая чашка. So the ending of the noun чашка is determining the ending of the adjective большая. Likewise, we have more examples with us, like ночь, дочь, ручка, почта, девочка, and then we have почему, which is very oftenly used because every question will start from почему only, because it means why. Then we have an expression очень приятно. So if you remember, in the previous module we have discussed about очень приятно познакомиться. So it is very nice, pleasant to meet you. You can also make your own sentences. However, before that, let's learn the meaning of these new words first. So, chashka we already know means cup, noch means night, doch means daughter, ruchka means pen, pochta means post office, devachka means little girl, pachimu means why, and ochin priyatna we know means very nice. Alright, now let's go ahead and pay attention to the sounds. Here these are the sounds, a combination of course of a consonant and a vowel, and then a vowel and a consonant. The letter which we are going to use here is sh. So, please pay attention to the sound of these combinations. And I would also like to recommend that even without looking at the screen, if you can identify the sound separately or joined together, then it would help you further in making your own good word sentences, expressions, and you will be able to identify precisely any sound of the Russian language. So, now I am going to tell you about these combinations. Let's start with sha, shu, she, ash, ush, ish. Here you can see that whenever we are having a combination of a consonant and a vowel, sounds are different, as well as when we are changing into a vowel and a consonant sound, the sounds are absolutely changed. For example, like sha, and the opposite of sha is ash, sha, ash, shu, ush, she, ish. So, like that. You can also have your own exercises in a different manner, so that you can also understand different type of tones and texture of Russian with such exercises. Okay, now let's go ahead and pay attention to the new constructions here. We have sha, sha, ash, sha, she, ash, sho, 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 osh, osh, shu, 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 ush, ush, she, she. So, it is quite difficult in order to identify the sound of sha or sha. However, when they are joined with some other vowels, but when they are pronounced individually, I think our learners, they can identify their sounds very easily. Sha, sha. But our main purpose is that even if when they are joined together, not only identifying them clearly is the purpose, but if such sounds are occurring in any kind of word, then you also need to be ready to identify them, and for which you need to practice these kind of exercises very oftenly. Alright, now let's go ahead and pay attention to the next part. Here you can see we have combination of vowel consonants and consonants and vowels. Here we are going to use s, ya, sha and a. Then we have sha, a and s and ya. So, sya, sha, sha, sya, syo, shyo, shyo, syo, syu, shu, shu, syu, si, shi, she, si. Alright, here you can see that how the tone and texture, every time whenever we are having a combination of a consonant on a vowel or vowel or a consonant, the tone and texture is changing. Now, let us go to the next part and pay attention to some of the words which we are going to use here. They are also very important in order to understand the cultural aspect of Russia. The first example is, of course, is borscht. If you travel to Russia, you will find this particular soup very prominently available everywhere, each and every corner of the country. It is basically a Russian beetroot soup, and soup is soup in Russian, but particularly borscht is a Russian beetroot soup. Then we have plash, she, zhenshina, ploshaj, общежитие and vopshezhitye. So now let's learn the meaning of these words again. Borscht you already know. Then we have plash, means raincoat. Then we have she is again another very famous type of soup in Russian. So you can also remember this, note it down. Zhenshina means woman, ploshaj means square, and krasnaya ploshaj we have included for your information because it is also very important. A very prominent square in Moscow, which is known as the Red Square. So you can also remember this, that Krasnaya Ploshad or the Red Square, which is a prominent spot in middle of the Moscow city. The next one is общежитие, means hostel, and vopshezhitye means in the hostel. You will be learning about such constructions where we are going to use prepositions, like in this case v общежитие means in the hostel. So when we are making sentences with the help of prepositions, we will be using two kind of prepositions. Primarily v means in and na means at. Okay, now let's go to the next part. So here, for the convenience of our learners, we are going to have some activities. So please pay attention to the words and sentences in this activity. Number 1. Это ваше общежитие? So when I am asking a question, as you can see, the sound pitch is going higher at the end. Это ваше общежитие? Да, это наше общежитие. I am answering with the help of da, and then I am having a pause and completing the answer. Да, это наше общежитие. Then, ваш друг тоже живет в общежитии? Again question, so the pattern of the sound is going higher at the end. Then I am answering, да, мой друг тоже живет в общежитии. With the help of да, I am answering, да, мой друг тоже живет в общежитии. So these are the constructions where you will see where we are using preposition в. That is why when the person is asking a question, это ваше общежитие? Is this your hostel? Then I am answering, да, это наше общежитие. Yes, this is our hostel. Then the person is asking a question, ваш друг тоже живет в общежитии? Ваш друг тоже живет. Is your friend also lives in the hostel? Then I am saying, answering with the help of да, yes, мой друг тоже живет в общежитии. Yes, my friend also lives in the hostel. Here, what do we see? We see a particular verb which is defining that my friend lives in the hostel. So the verb is жить. Жить can be conjugated in this form. That is why друг, and друг, as we know, is friend, masculine gender. So we have conjugated жить into on живет. Мой друг живет. And whenever we are having as you know that in this particular sentence we have a verb which defines that the friend lives in the hostel. So for verb to live, we have verb here жить. And as you know that in Russian we conjugate the verb, and here we are conjugating the verb for друг, which means friend, masculine gender. So we have changed the verb жить as per the masculine gender on or drug живет. And then here you can see the use of preposition v. Whenever we are asking the question где means where, then we have to use the same construction. Где живет, in this case, где живет мой друг, where does my friend live? Then I have to answer, my friend lives in the hostel. Мой друг живет в общежитии. Alright, so please keep this basic concept in your mind clearly in order to make more constructions like this, where you will be needing constructions of prepositional case. Now, let's look at this second construction. Это красная площадь. So, what do we understand from that? First thing, of course, it is a question. The sound is going higher at the end. Then площадь means square, and since you have no a or ya ending at the end, but it belongs to feminine gender, that is why the adjective ending is krasnaya. So, there are certain exceptions in Russian where you also need to remember them, and as a concept, some of the cases you will see that soft sign being used at the end, these nouns belongs to the feminine gender, but not necessarily always. So, exceptions, we will be having a separate list where you can talk about such kind of words. Now, let us go ahead. The answer the person is going to make in the previous part is да, это красная площадь. And as I can understand that you must be learning it properly, that whenever we are answering with the help of the, we are using the, pause and flat sound. Это красная площадь. Then the next question, ваш друг знает, где красная площадь? Then I am answering нет. Мой друг не знает, где красная площадь. So, the person is asking, ваш друг знает, does your friend know, где красная площадь? Where is the red square? And instead of the, I am going to use another expression нет, which means no. Нет, мой друг не знает, где красная площадь. My friend does not know where is the red square. So, here you can see that instead of the, we have used нет for the first time, and as well as you can also make your own sentences where you can use the expression of нет. However, the concept remains same, that after the or нет you have to have a pause. Alright, now let us go to the third section. In this we have certain sentences. Студент читает новый текст еще раз. The student reads the new text once again. And in Russian, as you know, for student, if it is a male, we have the word student. Whereas if you have a female student, it will be called studentka. So, we will be discussing about such more concepts in our upcoming modules. I hope that you like this module, and we will be discussing about certain other constructions of Russian, especially with the case called prepositional case in our next module. Thank you.